Kitchen with Flick Hospitality Group, and welcome to my kitchen. And today we're going to be playing with chocolate. Yay, chocolate, super exciting. And we're actually going to be melting chocolate and doing a super simple chocolate bark with things that you can find in your pantry. And you don't have to use the same ingredients that I'm using. It's a really versatile recipe, and that's the idea, to give you the infrastructure to kind of make the bark and play around with it and give them as treats to your neighbors, and your kids can nosh on this throughout the day as well. But let's talk a little bit about chocolate. So we are using dark chocolate today, but you can use basically any chocolate here. So you walk down the chocolate aisle, you see a plethora of varieties of chocolate, different percentages, they're kind of thrown in your face. What do I do with them? Well, actually, it's pretty simple. So chocolate in general, when you're talking dark chocolate, bittersweet chocolate, semi-sweet chocolate, all of those are made from cocoa nibs, right? And those are what gives it its nice, beautiful kind of chocolatey color, right? The percentage of the cocoa nib or chocolate liqueur that is in the chocolate gives it its robust flavor. So the higher the percentage, the more cocoa liqueur that's in there, the less sugar, emulsifiers, dairy, etc. that's in there. Like milk chocolate obviously has more of those and less of the cocoa nib or chocolate liqueur, right? The higher the percentage, so we're using here a 70% dark chocolate bar. That means the majority of it, 70%, is from the cocoa nib or the chocolate liqueur. So that's kind of how to differentiate the two. Semi-sweet chocolate, bittersweet chocolate, by FDA definition, are the same exact thing. However, the percentage of cocoa nib or chocolate liqueur in the bittersweet chocolate is around 50% or higher with bittersweet chocolate, and for semi-sweet chocolate, it's around 50% or lower, so roughly around the 35% range, depending on the type of chocolate. A little bit of history there, right? Play around with it. Again, I am using dark chocolate here. You can use semi-sweet, you can use bittersweet, whatever you have in your pantry. Don't feel like you have to use this. All I did, created a double boiler. This is just water on the bottom, like a quarter of the way up the pan, glass bowl, make sure it's glass and it's oven proof, on top, and then your chocolate in here. This prevents scalding, scorching, burning of the chocolate. You literally heat the water just to a simmer on the bottom, plop your chocolate bowl on top. Water and chocolate do not mix, so be careful not to get them in together. It will seize up the chocolate. When I say seize, it'll literally, it's creamy now, it'll go, and it seizes up. So it's not gonna be creamy anymore. You can usually bring chocolate back with a little bit of oil in there. It just depends. You can add a little bit of vegetable oil or canola oil. It should bring it back, like a teaspoon. All right, so this has just been melted on the double boiler, and you can see it's nice, creamy consistency and texture here. And all I'm going to do, literally, is I have a silicone baking mat here. You can use parchment paper as well. I love silicone baking mats. Nothing sticks to them. I do have parchment in here. You're just going to, and it's on a sheet pan, by the way. I'm going to spread this out as thick or as thin as you want it. I will let you know, the thinner you go, the harder it is going to be to break. Think about, oh, I want this to break up. I want to put it into pieces like a brittle almost. All right. So I'm scraping that out. I have an offset spatula too if you want to. I'm just using a rubber spatula. There's no rhyme or reason to it. Don't feel like you have to do it one way versus another. I'm spreading it out to my desired thickness here. And then all you are going to do, and if you could smell this, it's amazing. All you're gonna do here is, and I'll lick that once I turn the camera off, no judgment. I have some dried cherries and pistachios. I had them in my pantry, quarter cup of each, half a cup. It just depends how you feel, right? If you want more, add more. All I'm doing, as the chocolate is still warm, right? Because you want these to stick, I'm sprinkling these on top of my chocolate bark, or my melted chocolate. It will be chocolate bark here soon. All right, and these are Michigan cherries. I'm from Michigan. I got these when I was home. They're my favorite from Traverse City. I don't know about you, but I'm obsessed with cherries, so I always get them from there. And then I have, but you can use any cherry you want, of course. And then I have some roasted, unsalted pistachios that I've chopped up because I love the balance of the green against the dark chocolate with the dark cherries in there. I'm just gonna sprinkle these on. Again, this is just 1/4 of a cup. You can add more if you want to, less. Really no rhyme or reason here. You can also, which is fun too, you can add in, I can melt white chocolate or a different color of chocolate milk, and I can drizzle that on top too to make it extra fancy. But I'm just gonna kind of leave it plain Jane here because I love the way simplicity looks. Then my salt. So I'm obsessed with sea salt. Don't judge me for that, but I pick up sea salt wherever I go. So it depends on the flavor, right? Sea salt tastes different depending on where it's harvested. Pink Himalayan sea salt obviously has different minerals in it than a black lava sea salt. So pick one you love. I think I'm going to use, I'm debating on like my Cape Cod or my Maine sea salt because I like both, but the Cape Cod one is a little bit hardier in the size of the grain of salt, and I like super flaky sea salt. So I'm just gonna sprinkle that on here. I love the contrast of the sweet and salty. Again, you don't have to add this in. I've done it without. I've also added like some savory notes of pink peppercorns in this because I love pink peppercorn contrasting with a white chocolate. I know I'm getting a little too fancy here, but again, I like to play with spices. You can add cardamom in here, cinnamon if you want to make like more of a Mexican kind of chocolate bar, or dried jalapeno, a little spice in there, totally up to you. All right, and this is it. Literally so simple, right? You just melt things down, pop things on top, play around with your flavor profiles, if I could speak, and here you go. Isn't that so beautiful? Yay, you did it. And all you need to do, let it sit on your counter at room temperature until it hardens, about 1 to 2 hours until it completely hardens. You can pop it in the refrigerator too shortly, and then we're gonna break it up into bark, and that's literally all you do. So I hope you have as much fun as I did making this, and play around with all the different ingredients in your pantry. So we're back, and our chocolate bark has completely cooled and solidified, and we're ready to make it bark. So you can see here, it's beautiful. It peels right off of the back of my silk hat. If you have parchment, it'll peel off there. And all I'm gonna do is literally break it into pieces, and that's all I'm doing. I'll package it if I'm making it a nice little gift for somebody, or I will just eat it straight, which I might as well. Totally up to you. But enjoy, play around with it. Cheers to chocolate. See you later. Bye.